welcome, welcome to everyone. Go ahead and take a look at the Spark question in the chat box or excuse me, on the screen and respond in the chat box. And there's an obvious right answer for favorite sports teams. I'm gonna use that joke until it's not funny anymore, Coach Smith. So if I don't see you smiling, I'll be like, yeah, it's time to stop with that joke.
Hey, it's all love for me. I love sports. I love all teams.
Yep. Like you said, we're one big family.
One big family. See, we got some Penn State football fans.
Oh, we got a Yankees fan. Oh, LeBron James. Susan, I did not realize you were a Miami fan, a Dolphins fan.
I have been. I was born in Florida, so
Okay.
that's the connection there. And just always followed Miami. I'll show my age when I talk about quarterback Bob Greasy from a really long time ago. Dan Marino, but they were my heroes.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, I see that Elon hat there, that Phoenix hat.
Ooh, go Phoenix.
I've been accused of only wearing green and maroon.
There are probably worse accusations folks can make.
That's
So
true.
that's not bad.
Some UNC fans on here too.
Yep. Jimmy B. Kate's a Wolfpack fan.
I have a little love for the Wolfpack too. I have to say now, my uncle David Thompson played for NC State, so
Oh wow,
I'm a partial Wolfpack fan.
Yep.
that's pretty big claim to fame there.
Yes, and I got a chance to meet Jim Valvano, courtesy of my uncle taking me there.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
What a guy. We will get started in a couple minutes. Welcome to everybody. We have a Spark question on the screen. If you are interested in participating, enter into the chat box, and we may or may not joke about your answer in some way, but it is all in fun. Lots of sports fans here, which is awesome. Lots of sports represented. A sport I've never thought that I would enjoy watching is golf. Then I started playing golf a little bit. And when I probably shouldn't even say play golf, I started messing around with golf. And now I kind of enjoy watching it. I don't know that there's a slower sport that you could watch, but I watch it.
I grew up, Kathy, with my father watching golf on Sunday afternoons.
Yep.
And also NFL football.
Yes. Yep. My granddaddy used to watch golf on Sunday afternoons, and that was nap time for me. We will get started in just a minute. Go ahead and type your answer to the Spark question in the chat box. What is your favorite sport, and do you have a favorite team? As folks join us, I'm going to ask you to mute your sound if you haven't already. If you don't mute, we will mute you for you. It just prevents feedback and that kind of thing. Please feel free to join via camera or not. We'd love to see your faces, but more importantly, we're just glad that you are here. Oh, I see several people with sporting their Elon gear. Yeah, there we go. Got a Elon women's basketball fan, of course.
Woohoo! Go Elon!
Yes. We will go ahead and officially get started. Good morning, everybody. We're really glad to have you here. My name is Kathy Lavoie, and I'm the board chair for the Women's Resource Center. So happy to have you here. Please do continue to engage in the chat. And if and I say if, but when Coach Smith says something that is particularly resonant with you, go ahead and type that out in the chat box and let us know kind of your feedback. Again, do mute your microphone. If you do not mute your microphone will be muted for you, which just prevents feedback. And please note that this event is being recorded. We've started recording these so that they are accessible later on. We've had such good speakers and we'll continue to have such good speakers that we want to be able to share the presentations with folks in the future. Again, we do thank you so much for joining us. You could be doing a lot of different things with your lunch hour and a half-ish, and we are really appreciative that you are here with us today. I don't believe we have any elected officials or anyone running for office to recognize. So I will jump into the sponsor shout outs, if that's okay. Want to give a big shout out to LabCorp, who is our visionary sponsor. Thank you so much, LabCorp, for your support of us. Our sustaining sponsors are Walmart Supply Chain and Impact Alamance. We really appreciate your contributions to and support of our organization. Our supporting sponsor is Glen Raven. Without these folks, we couldn't do what we do. So thanks to everybody for your support of our organization. Our major sponsors, want to recognize Elon University, Alamance Chamber of Commerce. Anybody here, Reagan, or anybody have an announcement? All right, I don't hear anything. Proponent, Federal Credit Union. I'm going to leave just a second for announcements. Always Best Care Senior Services, Samantha, I think.
Hi, good morning. I'm Samantha with Always Best Care. I think last month I made an announcement that I was looking for a nurse, and we did get one. And currently right now we're also looking to hire a full-time recruiter to continue to help bring us on more caregivers. So if you know anybody, send them my way.
Awesome. Samantha, will you put that information in the
Absolutely.
chat box? Awesome,
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see, Nelson Technology. I saw Barbara.
Yep,
You have a
I'm here.
welcome. Any announcements today?
Well, we are going to kick off the Exceed Technology is Voice over IP Phones, which is a sister company that Michael and I started, you know, Michael Nelson, and we're going to offer an introductory special for anybody for the month of May that wants to join us and have a great phone system. We'll give them their first month free. So yeah, that's our announcement.
All right, very good, very good. And Barbara, if you'll put that in the chat so folks can have that information, that would be great.
Absolutely, and great discounts for nonprofits. So if we can help anybody. Yeah,
very good. Prime Personnel Resources, Truliant Federal Credit Union, and I see Tommy has an announcement. Though I don't see him. If he joins, we will jump back to him. Pinnacle Wealth Partners, Angie Hall with Pinnacle Wealth Partners. Thanks to all of our visionary, sustaining, supporting, and major sponsors. I want to recognize our corporate sponsors, Erin Cockman with Pinnacle Wealth Partners, Twin Lakes Community, Gilliam Bell Moser, and Katie Smith Photography. These folks keep us up and running along with all of you that are here. We appreciate all your support. Want to give a shout out to the board members, my fellow board members who are on here. It's a great board. We work really hard, and our most notable accomplishment is the Herb Festival, but I'm not going to steal Susan's thunder, but it went really well. We thank all of you for coming out and for supporting us. It was a great time, a great event. Membership in our organization is $30. You can contribute any amount you want, and the first $30 will go towards membership. Any amount after that is applied as a donation. You can go to wrcac.org/donate, and that is up on the screen. And we can enter it into the chat as well. So you can just click. We'll make it that easy. Click and donate. Appreciate all of your support. Want to also thank all the members of WRC, those of you who have taken that step and become a member. Thank you, Kate, for putting that in the chat box. Particularly want to thank the volunteers at the Herb Fest, but I keep trying to steal Susan's thunder. I'm not going to do that, but we do really thank you for all of you members who came out to volunteer and to purchase plants. It was an incredible, incredible event. Our next Working Women's Wednesday will be May 26th. You won't want to miss this one either. Mindy Nye, who's the Lab Corps Vice President, and she's the General Manager for the Center for Esoteric Testing. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds super important. So I think it's gonna be a great event. So please join us for the next Working Women's Wednesday on May 26th. And with that, I will turn it over to Susan for an update, and then we'll jump right into Coach Smith. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks so much, Kathy. You and I are on the same page. I looked at that esoteric testing and had to Google it. I'll just be quite honest about that. I Googled it, and it's testing of rare substances. So apparently our speaker in May is a woman leading in management with Glen Raven, and we're excited to learn about her niche career and her path to leadership. So we hope you all will join us next month as well. I have to say, Coach Smith, I was really excited today to be coming to Working Women's Wednesday. We would love to see you in person and would love to have had this event at Alamance Country Club. But we are thrilled that you were willing to do it online for us today. Women's Resource Center provides the tools that women need to navigate life transitions, to overcome obstacles while achieving their personal and professional sustainable success. You've been hearing us the last few months since the first of the year talk about our 30th anniversary, which was actually in March, but we are celebrating it all year long. And the fundraising that we've been doing has reached $10,000 toward our $30,000 goal of Donate to Celebrate. And we are still celebrating our 30th anniversary. And one of the ways that we did it was in April through our annual Herb Festival. As you know, that we were not able to have that Herb Festival last year, and it's a significant source of funding for the center. And as Kathy's already shared with you, we are just so grateful to the community for your support. We appreciate our sponsors, all the volunteers that it took to put it on, and our shoppers who came out in support of that event. We had to have it outside. Normally it's at First Presbyterian Church inside, but we threw up the big tent and put plants underneath. We had some curbside pickup. We had to get creative. We tried a little bit of online pre-orders for folks who weren't quite ready to shop outside in a crowd. But overall, it went very, very well. And because of you, we raised $22,000. So we just cannot thank you enough, our community. In May coming up, we are doing things again a little bit differently. We've been closed to in-person client appointments for the last year. And all of our staff has now been vaccinated. We are going to open the doors next week to in-person client appointments by appointment only. And we're also going to have Leslie Flowers is coming in next week on Thursday. And hers is an in-person workshop about building self-confidence. Also starting next week, our own Melissa Luck is going to be running our Women Connecting Women Career Support Services. Our workshop series is a 6-part series, and it's going to be in person. So we're really excited to be able to add that personal touch, although masked and socially distanced. We look forward to serving the community again the way we have done in the past. Trudy Tobias is going to be coming back in May, but hers will be a virtual workshop on self-care. Who doesn't need that right now? We'll have an employer spotlight that will be virtual, and Tommy Hicks with True Liant is going to be delivering financial first aid in a virtual workshop. Breaking Up and Moving On will also be a part of our virtual offering in May. So there is a lot going on. Please be sure that you are following us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. We really need your support on these social media platforms to share our events and the information that we share. Today, I know Prom Personnel Resources was not able to make announcements on the call. They are actually at the NC Works Career Fair. So if you know of somebody that's looking for work, send them our way, but also point them out to the NC Works Career Fair that's going on this afternoon. All that to say, a community is strengthened by women who lead self-sufficient and productive lives. Our vision is that all women in Alamance County reach and live into their fullest potential. And that is what Coach Charlotte Smith does every day. She is the former University of North Carolina women's basketball standout who hit the game-winning shot in the 1994 national championship game. She's marking her 10th season at the helm of Elon University women's basketball program. She's a native of Shelby, North Carolina, graduating from Shelby High School. Coach Smith was tabbed the 6th coach in program history by Elon Director of Athletics, Dave Blank, in 2011. In those years, she has accumulated 162 to 122 records. She guided Elon to its first NCAA Tournament appearance in program history in 2016-17 and was named CAA Coach of the Year. She led the Phoenix to program's first Division I conference regular season and tournament titles in 2016-17, and the first overall since 1981-82. She then followed up that season with a second straight CAA tournament title in 2017-18 and to reach back-to-back NCAA tournaments. That is quite a record, Coach Smith. We are really excited to have you because you were the most outstanding player in 1994 Final Four, earning All-American honors in 1995, and even had your jersey retired in 1996. We could go on and on about all of your accomplishments, but really we want to hear you speak, and we're excited for you to be our speaker today at Working Women's Wednesday. So we're going to turn this platform over to you. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you all today. Oh, wow. Thank you to the Women Resource Center for all that you do to empower and inspire women. That's my passion. That's my heartbeat, is to empower and to inspire people to walk in their greatness. Now, where did that come from? The whole walk in your greatness. It really stems from the pause that we had in the pandemic. I learned so much, and it gave me an opportunity to pause, to reflect, to reset, and get in alignment with the vision and the values that I had for my life and for those that I've been called to lead. And, you know, what do I mean when I say walking your greatness? To me, it simply means being the best version of yourself, being the best version of your authentic self. And so how do we get there? It's a journey. It's a journey. You know, it's not a marathon. It's not something that comes to an end. It's a process of becoming and evolving, and it's a daily process. And I thought, what better way to try to help inspire you to walk in your greatness by sharing my life, and of course, when you look at my bio, you see all of these wonderful things that I've done and all of these accomplishments. But you don't, a lot of times you see the success, but you don't see the struggles and you don't see what it took to get to that point. There's a quote that says, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty." And that's a quote by Maya Angelou. And so there's a lot of changes and things that I had to go through to get to the point of all those things that you see on my bio. And so I just want this to be a moment of authenticity, a moment of transparency, because I firmly believe that your transparency can be the key to somebody else's victory. So I just want to walk you through my life and be able to share some of those things. And so when I started to think about like what to talk about, this question came to mind, or this thought came to mind. It's just about the process of conception. And when you think about conception, think about that. I'll give you a moment to just pause and think about that. Conception. Conception tells us a lot about who we are. Conception has already announced your greatness. Because when you think about conception, conception simply says that you are chosen. That's the first thing, is that you are chosen, that you are a survivor, and that you are a winner. Those are the things that I feel like conception speaks to us. And conception is already announcing your greatness. I am chosen. That means that I have a unique purpose here in this earth to fulfill, a unique purpose that only I can fulfill. It teaches me that I am a survivor, that I'm built to last. And, in this life, we'll go through different challenges, we'll go through obstacles, and we have to realize that we are built to last and that we are survivors. And the final thing is that we are winners. There's a champion inside of all of us, And it's up to us to not only discover the best version of ourselves, but to also become the best versions of ourselves. And the way that we become the best versions of ourselves, it starts with self-perception. How do I see myself? Because that's the foundation for everything. How do I see myself? And I'll be very honest with you, when it came to self-perception and how I saw myself, there were a lot of times in my life, especially throughout my teenage years, where I struggled with that. I struggled with, just my being and who I am, struggled with how I looked, my dark skin, my broad nose. Those are things that I was insecure and not confident about. And in order for us to be the best versions of ourselves, the first thing that we must do is embrace completely and wholly who we are. Embrace completely and wholly who we are. So self-perception, how do you see yourself? And do you embrace yourself completely and wholly? Because self-love and self-care is the foundation of you becoming the best version of yourself. When I was growing up as a little girl, I remember just some of the fears and struggles that I had. And it started, a lot of times in order to overcome those adversities and those fears and to walk in confidence, we have to go back to the place where we lost our identity. And so during the pandemic, I started thinking about, what are the areas of my life where I've settled and not been the best version of myself. And so it took me back down memory lane to times in church, growing up in church. And I remember them asking me to sing in church and being afraid to sing, asking me to speak or be part of plays and being afraid to do that. And so sometimes it's like we got to go back to those points where we lost ourselves, where we lost our identity, and where we surrendered our greatness and pick it back up. And so that's what I did, as I did inventory of my life during the pandemic to try to identify those areas where I felt like I've settled in life. As a child growing up, I remember my aunts and being at my grandmother's house and them asking us as children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that question really made me cringe. It made me cringe because it felt so final. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It felt like I had to just pick one thing, one path, and that was it. And I felt like, wow, it would be the death of me if I told them what I really wanted to be. But then I felt like it would be the death of me if I didn't reach out to become all that I aspired to be. Because as a little girl, like, I had a dream to become a professional basketball player. And for a lot of people at that time in the 70s, it probably would have been totally crazy to ever think that I could become a professional basketball player. So what I did was I put on the mask. And I think that's what we do too often, is that we put on the mask, and we can never become the best versions of ourselves when we always put on the mask and not seek and go after that which has been placed in our hearts. And so putting on the mask was easy for me. So I told my aunts, you know, what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. But I knew deep down inside, that's not really what I wanted to be. I really wanted to be a professional basketball player. And so, you know, fast forward, you know, I started playing at an early age at Shelby Middle School. And I remember just being raw and not really great, but I wanted to pursue my dream. And I remember starting out on the JV team, and that obviously there was something that the coach saw in me that made him want me to become part of the varsity team. And so I remember sitting in the locker room the first day of practice and hearing some of the girls saying that, you know, you don't have what it takes to play on this level and that you're going to sit the bench. And I remember sitting there and internalizing that and thinking to myself, hey, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't be successful on this level. And I waited. I was in the locker room tying my shoes and pretending like I was getting ready for practice. And I waited until they all left and went out for practice. And I left the locker room and never played for that varsity team. And I share this story with you to help you to understand that in order to be the best version of yourself, you have to listen to the voice of truth. And that voice of truth is that fire and that passion that's deep down inside of you, telling you that you have what it takes. And there's always going to be naysayers out there that will cause you to doubt yourself and cause you to diminish and think less of yourself. But you have to stand firm in that voice of truth. And it's like, out of all of those people that told me that I couldn't be successful and that I didn't have what it takes, none of them went on to play on the collegiate level. None of them went on to play at the professional level. So it's like, you never know what you have inside of you until you have the courage and the boldness to step out on faith and believe in the beauty of your dreams. Eleanor Roosevelt says that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And so I got to the point to where I realized that, you know what, I have to shake off this doubt. I have to be confident in my gifts and what I bring to the table. And that's what you have to do. You have to be strong and confident in what it is that you bring to the table, because we all bring something special and all something unique to the table. And so I went on to play at the next level at Shelby High. And I remember, you know, just wanting to play at the University of North Carolina. That was a dream of mine because I wanted to be like Mike. You know, as much as my uncle was an NC State fan, he graduated from NC State. I knew that I wanted to become a Tar Heel, and I was able to live out that dream. And so it was amazing to see the accomplishment of going from a program that was at the bottom of the league to national champions within 3 years. And it started out with great leadership. You know, the foundation of any program's success, any company's success is great leadership. And what I learned from my coaches is that Coach Sylvia Hatcher, who was the head coach at the University of North Carolina, is that you got to be bold and you got to be courageous. When we made it to the national championship game, and that's where everybody remembers me from, is the 1994 national championship game. I'm referred to as the girl who hit the shot. What I think about the most from that moment is, you know, every year during the Final Four, you see that shot and everybody is saying, oh my gosh, she had ice water in her veins and she hit the game winning shot. But I felt a little bit more like I had chicken grease in my veins than ice water in my veins because I was so afraid. And, you know, it's sometimes you just have to put on the flint face and walk in boldness, even when you're afraid, you know, and that's You just have to do it afraid. Sometimes you just have to step out on faith, even though you may be operating in fear. So a lot of people think that I had ice water in my veins, but I had no confidence in myself. So that game went down to wire. And we were down by 2. And Coach Hatchell decided after the second timeout that we were going to go for the win and not the tie. And that just, every time I say that, it just gets me so excited, because sometimes in life, we just have to go for the win and not settle for going for the tie. It would have been easy to go for the tie. Then we would have had to go into overtime. But sometimes in life, you just have to be bold and go for the win. And nobody would have ever thought that we would take a 3-point shot rather than taking a 2-point shot to go for the tie. Courageous leadership, but bold leadership. That's what I learned from Coach Sylvia Hatchell. And that's what has propelled me to be successful, is that, sometimes you have to realize, sometimes there's people that believe in you more and see more in you than you can see in yourself. And there's a quote that says, "Sis, you're out there doubting yourself, while there's somebody else out there intimidated by everything that you have in your package." So you have to believe in you. And so I remember going out to take the shot, and I was so afraid that I completely forgot the play. I spaced out and forgot the play that we were supposed to execute. And I remember going to my teammate. Sometimes you got to have somebody there on your side and in your corner that can encourage you and that can get you back on track. And she said, you're just setting the screen and then you're backing out. And so when we were going for the win, Tanya Sampson, and this is the thing that's incredible about that story is that I was not the best 3-point shooter on the team. Sometimes you don't have to be the best in order to be the one that's chosen. And, so when she was saying that we're going for the win and the tie, I'm looking around in the huddle like, okay, so who's she going to choose? Because I knew I was not the best 3-point shooter. I was only shooting 25% from the 3-point line at the time. And there were plenty of other players that were better than me from the 3-point line. But there was something, I guess, just, we call it divine intervention is what we call it, because it's like, how do you pick someone who's not known as a 3-point shooter, not the best 3-point shooter on your team to take that shot? That's courageous leadership. Sometimes in courageous leadership, you gotta blaze your own path. You gotta blaze your own path. And that's the one thing that I respect about Coach Hatchell. And so long story short, we go for the win and not the tie, and history is made, and we won the national championship. Now, it's time for me to live out my dreams of playing professional basketball. But it wasn't what I envisioned. There were no opportunities for women here in our own state. And it's amazing how we have some of the best talent here in the world, and we didn't have opportunities. And so that's why it's so important for women to, to make a statement, to lift your voice and demand what it is that you want to see in life. And, fortunately for us now, we have those opportunities available with the WNBA, which is the Women's National Basketball Association. But when I graduated from college, there were no opportunities. So I had to travel all thousands of miles to go play in Italy. And so I share that story with you to help you to understand that you have to be willing to be open to change. Be open to change. And I carry this card in my wallet. And I happened to have my wallet open in practice one day. And my players, they came and they were laughing at me. And they were like, "What are you doing with the Blockbuster card in your wallet? Ha, ha, ha." And I said, the reason why I have this Blockbuster card in my wallet is because I want to always remind myself to be open to change. Blockbuster had the great opportunity to partner with Netflix. And they were afraid to take that step, to blaze another path, to take another path. And they missed out on an opportunity. And it could have been very easy for me to say, you know what, this is too hard. This is too far. This is not what I envisioned. But it's like sometimes you have to just suck it up and sacrifice to get to wherever it is that you want to go. And it may not be what you envision, but you have to take that step. You have to take the first step to advance to the next step. And so then after I played for a year, I was crying on the phone to my mom when I got there. And I was like, "Mom, I'm coming home. I can't do this." And she said, no, you're not coming home. You're staying there. She said, you're not homesick. You're just boyfriend sick and you're staying there. And so I stayed there for 8 months. I finished it. And I'm so glad, because sometimes you need someone in your corner to push you to do that which you don't want to do, but what is necessary to accomplish your visions and your dreams. And so I'm so glad that she told me that you're not coming home, you're staying over there, because the boyfriend that I was chasing is no longer my boyfriend anymore. It's like sometimes we chase things that we need to let go of, because it can be a deterrent to our dreams. And so I was so glad that, and I was an adult at that point in my life. I was 21 years old. So but that goes to show the respect that I have for my mom, the respect for her leadership and her honesty. And you have to have someone who's going to be honest with you and transparent with you in order to get you to where you want to go. So, I played professional basketball and I was living out my dream playing in the WNBA back stateside. And it was such an awesome opportunity. And, one of the things that I learned from, playing professional basketball is that it's so much bigger than basketball. I think sometimes when we acquire so much success, sometimes it can get to our heads. It can put us on that performance treadmill where we're constantly trying to relive that success and grasping for that success, that we lose sight of the vision. And it's so important to always stay in tune with your why. What am I doing this? And what am I doing? And why am I doing it? And, once you become player of the year, national player of the year, you win a national championship, you want to continue that success, because it somehow puts you on like this all-time high. And you can find yourself constantly grasping for that. And it can put you out of reach of what's important and your why. And so being part of the WNBA taught me my why and refocused me to my why. And it's to reach and to empower and to inspire young women. And I remember close toward the latter part of my professional career, I just felt a prompting to start a women's group. And so it was a women's group where I would invite them over to my house. It was at a point in my life where I really didn't want to do it, because I was actually going through divorce at that time in my life. And sometimes we have to realize that the challenges that we're going through in life is not just about us. And sometimes we can be so caught up in the shame of what we're going through that it causes us to want to hide. But I knew that in that moment in my life that it was important for me to get outside of myself and be able to pour into somebody else, because that was part of my healing process. No, I didn't want to do it, but I felt a prompting. And so I decided to be obedient. And so in that women's group, I decided to invite this young lady she was actually the camera lady for our team. I don't know why, but I just felt a prompting. And so the next day after our women's group met, we were actually studying the purpose-driven life. And I got an email from her saying that, did you know that you were my angel? And when I started to read the body of the email, it said that I was at a low point in my life, and I was praying to God that I need you to send me a sign, because if you don't, I'm going to take my life today. And that was the very day that I invited her to our Bible study, to our women's group, Purpose-Driven Life. And I think sometimes we can get so caught up in striving for success that we lose focus on why we're doing what we do. And yes, I knew that basketball was an important part of my life and sports was, my path. But I also knew that empowering and inspiring women was more important than anything. So it's like, never underestimate why you're positioned in a certain place, because at that time in my career, it was not a good situation with my coach. It was not a good situation with leadership. And I remember a lot of people talking to me about asking to be traded, asking to go to another team. But I just felt like I was called to stay another year with the Charlotte Sting. And in staying in that next year, that was where I met that young lady that actually filmed our games. And so a lot of times when we go through challenges in life, we run into the fight or flight. And sometimes it's important for us to fight for what we want and not always run away and get into the flight mode where we run away, because we never know why we're positioned, for such a time as this. And so I'm just so thankful for just the opportunity and the platform, because a lot of times, a lot of people don't like sports and probably could care less about sports. But, I like where Billy Graham said that, sports can reach more people than, any pastor can reach more lives. And I'm just thankful for the impact and the opportunity that I've had through sports to empower young women and to teach them the importance of walking in their greatness and becoming and discovering the best versions of themselves. And a lot of that comes through the struggle. And that's why I love butterflies so much. That's why the butterflies are my background, because the caterpillar, when you think about the caterpillar, that's not the best version of who the caterpillar can be. But in order to get to the best version of who the caterpillar can actually be, it has to go through a season of darkness. It has to go through the cocoon. And, and it's in that season of darkness, there's a lot of times where we question ourselves, where we doubt ourselves, where we're wondering whether or not we have impact, whether or not we're making a difference. But you have to know that your strength is in your struggle. The strength is in the struggle. And we can't prematurely, we can't short circuit the process of becoming the best version of ourselves. It's like this little butterfly wand that I have here. Sometimes in life, I wish I could just wave my magic butterfly wand and just automatically skip the process of the cocoon, go from being the caterpillar to just flying. But it's in those times of darkness, it's in those times of challenges where I felt like I've grown the most and where I felt like I've had the most impact in being able to relate and be relevant to people. Because there's one thing about being able to sympathize with someone, but being able to empathize with someone. And so I'm grateful for those times where I wasn't a starter on the team, where I was on the bench, where I didn't have this glamorous starting role, because it gave me empathy for my players that are on the bench and understanding of that urge to want to be on the court, to want to be great, to want to be successful. But the one thing that I had to express to one of my players is that sometimes you have to understand that your value is not just determined by being on the stage. Sometimes behind the scenes is just as important. And it was amazing that one of the players on our team, she talked about Duru Tasman, who is one of my players that does not start. She said, Duru is the ultimate teammate. And that's what I wanted her to understand, is that you may not play a minute in a game, but understand your value. They call you the ultimate teammate because of the character, the work ethic, the determination, and all those values that you bring to the team. So a lot of times sometimes we may feel like we don't have value because we're not on the stage and that we don't have that starting role. But we have to always understand that we all have significance and we all have a unique purpose in part of this whole big scheme, this grand scheme of life. Coaching at Elon. Let me know how I'm doing on my time. All right. Coaching at Elon, becoming a coach. It was one of the greatest times of my life. And this is another part of being open to change. I was comfortable being an assistant. That's where I first started out, as an assistant at the University of North Carolina. And I was there for 8 years. And sometimes we can get so comfortable that we don't want to take that next step. And one of the things that I realized that caused me to be comfortable was the spirit of fear. And fear can paralyze us. Fear can cause us to be complacent. Fear can cause us to doubt ourselves. And it's like you can never know who you can become or what you can become unless you have the courage to step out into the unknown. And sometimes the unknown is so uncomfortable, but you'll never understand the beauty of all that you can become if you don't have the courage to step out and take that next step. I didn't want to become a head coach. It was scary. It was like, I didn't know. I felt inadequate. I felt unsure. But what I did was I just took that bold step and I said, you know what? I'm just going to interview for the Elon job. And I had a lot of people questioning me, like, why would you go there? They don't have the resources. It's going to be hard to win there. Wow, the voice of truth. Sometimes you have to listen to that greater voice that's inside of you. And I knew when I went on the interview at Elon, as soon as I left campus, there was such a peace about the place. And why did I have a peace? It was because I know who I am, and I know what it is that I want out of that next step in life. And that's so important. It's like anytime you're aligning yourself with someone else, a company, a person, you have to know who you are so that you understand whether or not their vision and their values align with yours. And so for me, I knew that being at Elon, it was more than being an athlete. It was really about being a student athlete. And I wanted to be somewhere where people truly embrace the holistic approach of what it means to be a student athlete. So when I left there, I had such a sense of peace because I knew that this was the place for me. But even in knowing that I had a sense of peace about this place, when my phone rang and the athletic director, Dave Blank, called me, I knew that phone ring was the hiring of Charlotte Danielle Smith. And I looked at the phone and I was like, ah, and I threw the phone down on my bed. I did not answer the phone. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to hire me. And again, here it is. Fear, inadequacy, doubt, uncertainty. Oh my gosh, it was just like a big flood just coming down. And there's a quote that I read where it says, you have 5 seconds to go from decision to action. You have 5 seconds to go from decision to action. Otherwise, your mind is going to talk you out of it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I was like, snap out of it. Get yourself together and call this man back. You know, you had a peace about it. You know that this is where you're destined to be. And so I made that phone call. Long story short, I've been at Elon for 10 years. We've transformed the program. The greatest accomplishment to me is that we have 100% graduation. We've done so many awesome things for young women to empower and to inspire them. And I think back to like, what if I had believed? What if I had believed that I didn't have what it takes to play at that next level? What if I believed I didn't have what it takes to be a head coach? It's not until you get past the fear and the doubt in front of you that you begin to see the power that's inside of you. It's not until you start to see past the fear and the doubt in front of you that you understand and embrace the power that resides inside of you. So I just wanted to encourage you to just rise up and to walk in your greatness and understand that you can accomplish anything that you put your mind to. But it starts with what we call our words of affirmation. And our team, every year we do a shirt where it's called words of affirmation. And every member of our team has a word of affirmation that we say every day in our huddle in practice. And it's to affirm who we are. And it's so important for us to do that. And so I gave our team toolboxes. I gave them all toolboxes, and I told them to put in your toolbox, you know, what it is that you feel like will help you to walk in your greatness and be the best version of yourself. So in my toolbox, I have a mirror. And so I affirmed myself, and I gave all of my players this mirror to say, you know, what do you, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? You know, before we won the first championship, I told them to look in the mirror, tell me, what do you see? A mighty, mighty phoenix looking back at me. That was a chant that we did right before we went out to win the championship. So self-perception, you know, how do you see yourself? And so every day I'm trying to affirm myself so that I can live beyond my fears, live beyond my doubts and the inadequacies. The other thing that I have in here is my little acorn, you know, to remind me that, you know, this little thing right here becomes a mighty oak tree. And everything that the mighty oak tree needed to become the mighty oak tree is found in this little acorn. So don't despise small beginnings. And, you know, and in order for this little acorn to become a mighty oak, it has to be planted. It has to be put in the dirt. And sometimes in life, it feels like that we're in the dirt. And sometimes it doesn't feel like we're planted. Sometimes it feels like we're buried. But you got to understand that, you know, when you go through trials in life, that you're not buried, that you're just planted, and that is part of the process. Everything that the acorn needs to become the mighty oak is found in the acorn. And then I have my scissors here. And this is just about vision. Before we ever won a championship, I bought a pair of gold scissors that I put in the locker room to tell my team that this is the scissors that we will cut down the nets with when we win the championship. And so you got to always keep something in front of you, reminding you to push forward, to reminding you to go forth, to walk in your vision and to live out your dream. And then the last thing I have in here is my little blue can of confetti. This is the can that I gave the team when we first went to a championship. And it was a can of confetti because I heard that they weren't going to throw out confetti when you won the championship. So I said, we're going to bring our own can of confetti. Needless to say, we did not win the championship. And I still have this little can of confetti. This is 10 years old. And what I put on that can of confetti is delayed, but not denied. You know, so when you're in pursuit of, you know, your visions, your dreams, and trying to walk in your greatness and becoming the best version of yourself, you're going to have to realize that you're going to come up against opposition. You're going to come up against roadblocks, but you have to realize that the vision, though it may tarry, it will come to pass. And it may be delayed, but it's not denied. You just got to keep pressing forth. You got to keep believing in yourself so that you can discover the best version of yourself and walk in your greatness. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I don't think we can even speak. I've taken 3 pages of notes. I hope everybody else has been writing things down. Coach Smith, your words are very, very powerful.
Thank you.
It all aligns with the mission of what we do every day. And when you broke out your little toolkit, I just got so excited because our client program is called the Success Toolkit.
Oh.
Yeah. We need to actually get some toolkits though, to give our clients, but it's all about every woman walking in the door with their own set of tools.
Right.
And sometimes they need a little polish and a little cleanup, maybe a little practice, right? And sometimes they're missing some tools, and we point them in the direction of that. So everything you said related to me personally, I just was very, very inspired by your words. And I know our audience has probably got some questions for you. I know I saw at least one in the chat already. I think Vanessa Bravo was asking a question. She said, can you explain why you felt that Elon really understood the whole situation of being a student athlete? And she's on faculty at Elon, and she's also one of our board members.
Yeah. Well, you know, too often as student athletes, and I've seen it because I've been in this business so long, to where it really is all about the sport and like, what can you do to help me win? And, you know, I knew going in, you know, if I had success, great. If I didn't have success, oh, well, at least I did my best. But I wanted to be somewhere where I felt like the tools to position them to be the best version of themselves were available. And so when you think about Elon, you think about the pillars of Elon is leadership. You know, they have a leadership academy that they started to help develop leaders. Study abroad. That's a program where when I first got out of Elon, you know, when I was researching Elon, it said that Elon was the #1 school in the nation to watch. And so I said, why watch when I can be part of it? And so I was looking at like the study abroad. Their goal was to get it up to 100%. At that time, it was like 71%. I think right now it's probably like around 83% or so. And a lot of those people who were not studying abroad were student athletes. So President Lambert and Dave Blank came up with a program to where every student athlete that comes through the program would be able to study abroad. And that's such an enriching opportunity, because there are some women that come to our programs that have never even flown on a plane in their lives, let alone go to another country and be able to explore another culture and to I mean, it's just an experience that you cannot explain when you're able to participate in a study abroad. Research. A lot of our players do research, and I wanted to make sure that I, as a coach, that I made sure that I was lenient and that I made sure that they could take advantage of all the opportunities that other students had as well. Because I think sometimes you can say, well, it's about basketball and you have to be out of class at this amount of time. You can't take these majors. But I just love how Elon just embraced the fact that we're going to identify what it is they want to do academically first. And then we build the model of sports around academics. So academics is a priority. All of our players have graduated and they've gone on to do amazing things. And so I keep a flat basketball on my desk to remind myself and to remind my players that eventually the ball will stop bouncing. And I think sometimes we put so much emphasis on sports that we lose sight of the why. And that's to help them to develop, to become young women for a lifetime of success and to empower them to go out and making a difference in the world. And Elon, the resources are all there and they're right there in your face. And if you fail to miss them, it's because you've completely closed your eyes.
I think that really, you articulated it very well. Some of my experience has been interviewing students and interns, not just here for the Women's Resource Center, but through another career that I was in. And without fail, every time I asked them how they chose Elon, they would say something about when they walked on the campus after they had gone through an orientation or whatever it was, they never looked back. If they just got on that campus, and the job that Elon does of everything that you said, making them feel included, seeing the vision of what they can do and the tools and the resources that they put around them every single time. What other questions does our audience have? I think Dick O'Donnell asked if there was a book in your future.
Is the next book in my future. The first book I actually wrote in 2013 is a leadership book, and it's called When Coaches Pray, but it's for anybody because I feel like we all are coaches in some capacity, whether we are coaches of a household, whether we are coaches on our job, whether we're coaches in a church. No, we all are leaders and coaches in some capacity. So that was a devotional that I did in 2013, just to be transparent, talk about the fears that I had becoming a leader, and then the struggles, through leadership and just the victories in leadership as well. But I definitely enjoy writing, and I see a lot more books in my future.
That's awesome. Who else has got a question? Feel free to chime in here.
Stephanie Williams has her hand raised, her virtual hand raised.
Yes. Coach Smith, thank you for your really incredible, inspiring talk. This has been amazing. But I do have a question about when you are recruiting players.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at players who are in those most vulnerable, probably shaky, confident years, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Kind of what, can you give us some insight as to what is it that you look for when you're talking to players, recruits, players who are interested in coming to Elon and so forth?
Yeah, I just give them my heart, I just give them my heart. And I think anytime you can give someone your heart, they can feel it, they know it. And I'm just passionate. I'm just really, really passionate about young women being successful. And I think one of the things that I feel like I do well is just being completely transparent about my struggles, about my fears, about my doubts, because I feel like I know everybody struggles with that. If you don't, congratulations, perfect you, but we all have inadequacies and doubts and uncertainties that we struggle with. That's why I said earlier that your transparency can be the key to somebody else's victory. And so I just engaging conversation and just feeling promptings of different things to share. It's just like, oh, wow, I too struggle with that. And so when you can empathize with someone versus sympathizing, I feel like there's a connection there. And so just in looking at my life, there's something that says, I know how to abase and how to abound. That's why your life experiences shape who you are. And that's why I'm so thankful for my life experiences, the good and the bad, from growing up in a neighborhood that was a dead end street. I grew up where there was a dead end sign at the beginning of my neighborhood. And I said, even though I live on a dead end street, a dead end is not my future. I grew up in poverty, and, I know what it is to have, and I know what it's like to not have. I know what it is to be successful, and I know what it is to not be successful, because a lot of people, when you look at my bio, you talk about the 2 years where we won a championship, but we've had 2 years where we've had losing seasons. So I think just being completely transparent, giving them a vision for what it is that you stand for, because that's what I talked about earlier, is just aligning yourself with people that are going in the direction that you're going in. And so I just give them my heart. And my heart for me, our acronyms for our program is HEART: honesty, excellence, attitude, respect, and trust. I'm going to always be honest with you, even if it pricks you a little bit. Everybody appreciates the beauty of the rose, but they don't appreciate the thorns. But you can't have the beauty of the rose without the thorns. So I'm going to be honest with you, even if it pricks you, because I want you to be the best version of yourself. I'm going to always demand excellence of you. When we think about our Creator, and I'm just a firm faith is part of my foundation, and I don't force it on anybody. But if you're open to it, I always talk about the spirit of excellence, and how in the beginning, how when the Creator looked back at everything that he did, he said that it is good. So in anything that we put our hands to do, we want to do it with a spirit of excellence. Attitude, your attitude determines your altitude and how you go in life. And you get the choice every day that you wake up to choose the attitude that you have. And there are some days where I feel like, oh my gosh, I just want to quit. I want to walk away. But it's like, I got 5 seconds to redirect my thoughts. Respect. That's something that I was taught at a very early age. And, they say treat other people how you want to be treated. But a lot of times you have to treat other people how they want to be treated, because some people don't even know how to treat themselves. That's why I talk about self-care and self-love is important. And then the last thing is trust, is that when people understand your heart and you care about them, they'll trust you. So I just give them my heart. That's what I simply do. And then I share my failures. I think too often we try to gloss over our failures, and we don't want to share those. We only want to share our successes. But I think that's where you have a connection with people, because at the end of the day, we all fall short.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vanessa's also added in a question. She says, once these students are at Elon at that age, it is easy to feel pressured by others about the way you look, your attitudes, etc. Peer pressure is a reality. How do you approach those topics?
Yeah. Well, I try to just lay the foundation of what is good, what is right, what is true, what is pure, what is lovely. You try to lay the foundation of those things. And at the end of the day, we're all going to have to walk our own journey. We're all going to have to stumble and make mistakes. And that's where grace comes in. And that's why I'm so thankful for the mistakes that I made in my life when it came to peer pressure, because it helps me to empathize and also show grace and to help them to get back up. And the one thing I try to do is it goes back to sharing my failures and saying that I'm trying to get you to avoid the pitfalls that I stepped in. But understand, when you do mess up, there's always going to be a hug waiting there for you. There's always going to be correction there for you. And there's always going to be truth there for you. So all you can do is, it says, train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they're old, they should not depart from it. They might get a little bit off track, but they always come back home, so you just have to lay the foundation. And so as a leader, I just try to teach them and talk about the right things to do, the honest things to do, and then allow them to live their lives and try to get them back on the right path when they do fall off. And, and I've had quite a bit of that. And the first thing that we have to do is to receive them in love, because when people fall short, if we're just jumping down their throats, you know, then it's hard for them to come to us when they do fall short. And I want them to feel like they have a safe place to go to when they do fall short.
Coach, there's a question by Tammy Hill. She says, how have you stayed connected to your students and players during the pandemic, the shutdown and transition back to a routine?
Right. Well, when we first went into the pandemic, you know, of course, with technology, we did a lot of Zoom. And after a while, they got really tired of Zoom. And this is where you have to be, just as a leader, be sensitive to the feel of the people around you, and have a pulse of, okay, are they tired of this? Are we ready to move on to something else? And so instead of doing a ton of Zooms with the team, I tried to take, because sometimes we take a corporate approach when we really need to take an individual approach. And so then I just started reaching out just individually on FaceTime, because, you know, I wanted to call them, but I also wanted to see their face, because I feel like the eyes are the window to the soul. So if I can see your eyes, then I can connect with you and try and feel, you know, where you are. And then we found some creative apps, some really fun apps where they had games where we could go in and, you know, so it was very disappointing that we weren't able to participate in March Madness. So we created a March Madness bracket competition where we found the app that had some really cool games. And so we had an ultimate winner. And then some of our players did Bible studies. They led Zoom Bible studies. So they just tried to find creative ways to connect. And then when we got back to campus, you know, we did reflection papers, you know, because I think reflection is so important. You know, what did you learn from the pandemic? What's your takeaway? And it's interesting because it's amazing the things that we take for granted. As soon, you know, sometimes when we get those things back, it's amazing how quickly we begin to take them for granted again. And so those reflection papers were so important, so that when we start getting complacent and taking for granted what had been taken away, to remind you of what you reflected on and those things that you lost. So those were just some of the things that we did to try to stay connected.
That's amazing. Kathy's got a question. She says, as women, we tend to be more likely to struggle with imposter syndrome, although it's not exclusive to us. She said, you alluded to that. Do you have any advice for people who are struggling with that?
You just have to, okay, you see me here talking today, right? What if I told you, like, I had a complete fear of talking in front of people, and I refused to talk in front of people. I refused to do speaking engagements. I said I would never do it. Like, when I tell people that I had a complete fear of speaking in front of people and that I would cringe, anxiety, and like, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm completely free of fear and I enjoy doing this. No, it's still a process of saying, hey, you got this, you can do this. And I think once we can get, this is the biggest thing piece of advice I can give you, is once you can be freed and delivered from the opinion of other people, that will give you the freedom to walk in your greatness and become the best version of yourself. We get so preoccupied about what will people think. We need the stamp of approval. We need their stamp of validation. And that's the first thing is that whatever it is that you have in your heart to do, you just have to go for it. You have to do it afraid. You have to do it trembling. Like, one of the most respected pastors that I watch is Bishop T.D. Jakes. And he talks about how when he first started talking, he was trembling, the paper was shaking. And when you see him, like, it's like, wow, look how powerful he is. You just have to step out on faith. And you know what? Sometimes you may fail, sometimes you may flop, but guess what? We all do. But it's like, be delivered from other people's perceptions. That's all I can tell you. And their expectations, and just be who you are. It's like, right now, I can't be anybody else than who Charlotte Danielle Smith is. You know, people ask me, can you be a Christian and be a coach and be successful? All I can be is who I am. That's all I'm called to be, really. That's all you're called to be, is your genuine, authentic self. So you just have to do it. Just do it.
That's great advice. There's a question, how have you dealt with racial equality issues this year? Do you have advice to other leaders who are on this call?
Yeah. Well, it's so hard and so exhausting. It's like, here, I just wish I could take my magic butterfly wand and just wave my wand and everything be just so different. And it's like, it's so frustrating because it's like, when you're solution driven, you just want to have a solution and it just be done. But it's just really not that simple. And, so all I can do as a leader is just teach the importance of being kind, of being empathetic, of being understanding, because I think about like the household that I grew up, like my father, my parents, they embraced everybody. And it's not, it's hard to say that, I don't see color. Of course we wish we could say that we don't see color, but then you delete the beauty of what God has done in the earth in terms of diversity. And the thing is that we have to embrace each other, embrace all of what we bring to the table, no matter what we look like. And I just, it's hard for me because I don't know how to get everybody to that point. And the reality is that everybody's not going to get to that point. And what we have to do is be the best versions of ourselves and pour out goodness into the earth to make that difference. And so that's what I teach my players, because it's frustrating, when we talk about these things. And what can we do to change other than try to teach each one, teach one? And, and it's, if you make a difference in your household, then that's a start. If I make a difference at Elon, then that's the next step.
I love that. Each one, teach one. Anybody else have any comments or questions for Coach Smith?
Yeah, and one other thing I want to add to that last question was, when I first arrived at Elon, I ran into a situation, it was terrible, where it was a guy got out of his car. He was upset because I was allowing people to come out of the Chick-fil-A to come in front of me. And he came out of his car and he screamed racist insults at me. And that was the first time I'd experienced racism in my life. So I know what it feels like. So it's, people can never say, well, oh, you're not connected to it because, I'm not out. Well, whatever. But I've experienced it firsthand. And I know how it can wound your soul and wound your spirit when someone judges you by the color of your skin rather than the content of your heart. Because my parents have taught me to be a good person. But it's like, you never waste a pain. Never. That's what I tell people. Never waste a pain. That situation was painful, but I turned it into power. And that's what I'll say about that is I said, I'm a musician. I love to write. And so that's the one thing that I love about Elon too, is when I went through that situation, they were like, how can we help? I had written a song and it's called Lord, Give Us Your Heart. It's actually on YouTube. And if I had to change the lyrics, I probably would change the lyrics just a little bit because there's a line that says, we are sisters, we are brothers. God sees people, never color. I would say God sees people, not just color instead of never color, because he does. That's why he created us all uniquely different. But I say that all to say is that we have to learn to take our pain and turn it into power. And I did that by writing the song, Lord, Give Us Your Heart.
Two things.
Wonderful.
Where do we get your book? Why Coaches Pray?
When Coaches Pray is actually on Amazon. So you can get it on Amazon.
Okay,
yep.
Thank you. No other question.
How's the Elon team this year?
Doing, probably ready to go home. It's been a long year. And they've been here since last summer. And I think they're all pulling each other's hair out right now at this point, teenage girls. So I think they all need a break from each other right now, but they're doing good. We're winding down the year, about to get in exams and winding down our postseason workouts. So I'm excited for them because a lot of them are going to be doing internships during the summer and taking, a much needed vacation, much needed break.
Well, I have to say we enjoyed having Ariel Cologne as our intern back during winter term.
I love her. She's a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
I have been told that I've missed a question in the chat from Sherry.
The question reads, it sounds like you had a great mentors in your life. Was your mother a mentor?
Yes, yes. My family, and that's what drew me to Elon, is because I'm a family oriented person. I love the sense of family and unity. My father, I'm a PK, so my father was a pastor and my mom was the first lady. Grew up in church, and my faith has always been my foundation. My faith has always been my go-to to navigate through life. And both of my parents are deceased. I lost my mom at the beginning of my professional career and my dad at the end of my professional career. And I'll share this with you. They were great mentors because they just loved everybody. It didn't matter what you looked like. It didn't matter what your background was. They just loved on everybody. Everybody loved to come to our house because they knew our house was going to be full of love and full of great food too, by the way. But before both of my parents passed away, there was one thing, the last thing that my mom said to me before she passed away. My mom, they actually traveled with me to Colorado when I was starting my professional career in the ABL. And unfortunately, she passed away right before the beginning of the season. And the last thing that she told me, her very last words was, and I remember sitting at the end of her bed and crying. She said, "Don't cry." She said, "Don't cry, baby girl." That's what she used to call me, baby girl. "Don't cry, baby girl. Everything is coming up roses." And that's something that I carry with me. And when you think about that, that's such a strong and powerful statement because, when you think about the rose, you think about the beauty of the rose, you think about the fragrance of the rose, but you don't oftentimes think about the thorns. And, and that's just life. Everything's coming up roses. We're going to have the good and we're going to have the bad. And, we take both of those and we bring them into our life experiences and they shape who we are. And they shape us for the good when we have a determination in life to become better rather than bitter by our circumstances. And then my dad, one of the last things that he was saying is, and he was, my dad passed away from cancer. And I just remember him being there and they had him highly sedated. And one of the things he said was that I have to go through the fire. And so, thinking about everything is coming up roses and going through the fire. Those are the two things that anchor me to remind me that, it's like no matter what you go through in life, that you have what it takes inside of you to be successful. And my goal in life is to make them proud. And, when I was thinking about Working Women's Wednesday, I was thinking about the word working. And this is one of the things I wanted to share too, is just a question that I want to leave you with is, when you think about your life, you got to think about, and I'll share this story. I was going through the McDonald's drive-thru the other day, and I had in my mind that I was going to get the Southwest salad. And unfortunately, McDonald's does not have salads anymore. And I was kind of upset. I was like, I'd like the Southwest salad. She's like, "We don't have those anymore." And that was the end of the conversation. And then I said, "Thank you." And I drove off. And that made me think about working. And so the question is you got to think about like what's working for you and what's not working for you. And whatever's not working for you in your life, you have the right to take it off the menu. I was mad at McDonald's for taking it off the menu, but guess what? Obviously, the Southwest salad was not working for McDonald's, so they had every right to take it off the menu. So working women, my question to you is what's working for you in your life and what's not working for you? And whatever is not working for you, give yourself permission to take it off the menu if it doesn't serve you.
Wow, that is awesome. I have to say, if that had been me, I would have taken that as a sign that I needed a burger and fries. So you have inspired me to take it off the menu.
Take it off.
Find something else. Thank you so much. This has just been a really bright spot in everybody's day who has been on this call. Thank you so very much for sharing today. We really appreciate it. I hope all of you have a wonderful afternoon. We look forward to seeing you all at Working Women's Wednesday in May. You can see all the comments, Coach Smith. We are just delighted to have you as our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I have thoroughly enjoyed being here today, and it is always a blessing to share And I can't wait to be in person with you all. I just miss that connectivity. And so thank you so much. Thank
That's
you
great.
to Women's Resource Center, and thank you to all the sponsors today for allowing me this opportunity.
All right. We appreciate you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.